Atlantis. Did Atlantis really exist? Or is it just a myth or legend from ancient times? Over time, many have tried to unravel this mystery. And today, try to find out. Atlantis is a familiar name to many people, regardless of whether they study history or are just fans of science fiction and fantasy stories. There are many theories about Atlantis, and in this video, we will explore the history, popular theories, and possible evidence for the existence of this legendary island. So, let's begin our journey to learn more about Atlantis. The story of Atlantis was first told by the ancient Greek philosopher Plato in two of his famous dialogues, Timaeus and Critias, about 2,400 years ago. In this story, Plato describes Atlantis as a large island, located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, i.e. the Straits of Gibraltar, which was the gateway to the Atlantic Ocean. The island was extremely rich in natural resources and inhabited by a highly advanced civilization. Plato described Atlantis as an empire consisting of 10 small kingdoms, all of which were ruled by a king. These kings were believed to be descendants of Greek gods, which gave them extraordinary powers and abilities. Atlantis is described as a place filled with architectural marvels, luxury, and wealth. However, despite being so prosperous and sophisticated, the inhabitants of Atlantis began to become arrogant and greedy, eventually causing the wrath of the gods. According to Plato, as punishment for their arrogance and gluttony, the gods decided to destroy Atlantis. In one pitch-black night, the island sank into the sea in a cataclysm that made it disappear without a trace. After that, no one ever heard of Atlantis again, and the civilization became part of the legend. But did Plato create this story solely to teach a moral lesson, or is there some truth behind this story? Most scholars argue that the story of Atlantis, told by Plato, is not an actual historical story, but rather an allegory or metaphor to teach a moral lesson. In his dialogues, Plato discussed the importance of justice and wisdom in government. Some historians and philosophers argue that Atlantis is a representation of an ideal civilization that was eventually destroyed by greed and hubris. However, there are also those who believe that Plato may have written this story based on an actual event that he heard about from older sources. Some believe that Plato simply adapted the story of Atlantis for philosophical purposes, and that this island actually existed in the real world. To date, we cannot fully verify whether Plato's story was a mere fiction, or whether he recorded an event that happened in the past. What is clear is that stories about Atlantis have captured the attention of people throughout history, and many believe that there is truth behind these legends. In fact, over time, the story of Atlantis has evolved into one of the most popular and puzzling tales in the world of archaeology and history. One of the biggest questions that arises after we hear about Atlantis is, where was Atlantis? Plato mentioned that Atlantis was located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, which we now know as the Straits of Gibraltar, connecting the Mediterranean Sea with the Atlantic Ocean. This means that Atlantis could have been located in the vicinity of the Atlantic Ocean, the Mediterranean Sea, or even further afield. Throughout history, various locations have been proposed as possible locations of Atlantis. Some of these are very well known. Let's discuss some of the most popular theories about the location of Atlantis. The first theory often mentioned is that Atlantis was located in the Mediterranean Sea, and more specifically on the island of Crete, which was the center of the Minoan civilization. The Minoans were an ancient civilization that flourished on the island of Crete around 2000 BC to 1500 BC, which was mysteriously destroyed by the massive eruption of Mount Thera, which is now known as Santorini. Some researchers argue that the destruction of the Minoan civilization could have been the inspiration for the story of Atlantis. The existence of magnificent cities and advanced technology found at the archaeological site Crete also suggests that this civilization may have been at its peak before suffering a major collapse. The connection between Minoa and Atlantis is often attributed to Plato's description of an advanced civilization that sank. However, there is a problem with this theory. There is not enough evidence to directly link the Minoan civilization to Plato's Atlantis. Nonetheless, this theory is still one of the most popular. One of the most well-known theories about the location of Atlantis is that the island was located under the Atlantic Ocean, gave the legend its name. Some researchers propose that Atlantis was in the vicinity of the Azores Islands, located in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, between Europe and America. These islands have interesting geological features, and some of the rock formations below sea level around the Azores have led to speculation about the existence of man-made structures. However, as is the case with other theories, the evidence supporting this theory is very limited. Clear archaeological discoveries of Atlantis have not been found in this region. One of the more extreme theories proposes that Atlantis was located in Antarctica. This theory is based on the claim that Antarctica was once located in a warmer zone on Earth, long before its geographical position shifted to the South Pole. According to some proponents of this theory, climate change and shifting tectonic plates may have caused Atlantis to sink beneath the ice sheet. However, this theory is highly controversial, as there is no geological evidence to support this claim. Most scientists are of the opinion that Antarctica never had an advanced civilization, and that Atlantis was likely located elsewhere. There are also those who argue that Atlantis was located in the waters of the Caribbean, more precisely around the Bahamas region. Several underwater archaeological discoveries found around this area, such as regular-looking rock structures, have fueled speculation about the connection between Atlantis and this region. Some claim that there are traces of an ancient civilization submerged on the ocean floor, although this evidence is not yet strong enough to prove the existence of Atlantis. Still, the theory is intriguing, given the presence of some unexplained rock formations. Despite many theories, there is still no archaeological evidence that can prove the existence of Atlantis for sure. However, there have been some interesting discoveries that have fueled speculation about this legendary island. One of the most controversial discoveries is a rock formation found near Yonaguni Island in Japan. These structures look like the remains of an orderly built pyramid or terrace, and have attracted the attention of many researchers who believe that these are the remains of an ancient sunken civilization. However, many geologists argue that these formations are the result of natural processes. Some discoveries under the Mediterranean Sea also add to the speculation about Atlantis. Around the islands of Greece and Turkey, ancient ruins have been found that indicate the existence of an advanced civilization in ancient times. Some researchers think that this may be a clue to the existence of Atlantis, or a similar civilization that sank due to a major catastrophe. However, most of these discoveries still cannot be directly linked to Atlantis, and are more often considered to be the ruins of other ancient civilizations. Now, we must face the biggest question of all. Did Atlantis really exist? To date, there is no archaeological or scientific evidence that can directly prove that Atlantis ever existed as a sunken island. However, stories about Atlantis remain a part of popular culture and continue to fuel human curiosity. Perhaps, we will never find the perfect Atlantis as described by Plato. But does that mean it's a myth? Or is there a truth behind this legend that is still waiting to be discovered? Well, that's an in-depth discussion about the mystery of Atlantis. So, do you believe that Atlantis really existed? Or was it just a legendary story from ancient times? Was Atlantis just a symbol of a civilization destroyed by greed, or a civilization that really sank to the bottom of the sea? We'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop them in the comments section below. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out on any other interesting videos. See you in the next video.